sparkle season yet. I just can't do it. I have visions of as Cinderella and her dress being made by all the animals and the mice and the birds and the... I would like to be able to choose my words.
Are you gonna take a polar plunge?
No, I am not going to do the polar plunge.
Reggie! It's a Reggie present. Hello, Sienna.
Oh my. Howdy, howdy. Can you say Happy New Year? I just asked my dog if she could say Happy New Year. Okay. Don't leave yet. I'm not that insane. When you have a 13-year-old puppy who wants to be the center of attention, you just give in. I mean, it's really, why would you not? Hey, and Happy New Year. It is well into the new year, I realize, and there's probably an expiration date on when one should wish one Happy New Year, but I feel like as long as I'm still in January, surely that's okay. And as you can tell, I haven't given up sparkle season yet. I just can't do it. I'm just not ready. I was ready to take down the Christmas decorations, even though it took us forever to get any Christmas decorations up. As an update, we never did get a single ornament on our tree, but it was still lovely, and it was blue lights and a tree, and presents were under it, and thumbs up. And we did have our historical disco baby Jesus, insert photo here. And we had just the most amazing 6 services split between 2 days. Rob and the worship team and every staff person and what we call table sitters, which is our volunteers. People just did an amazing job serving on those weekends, and I'm always blown away that, particularly for my husband, that he can do that live, the same sermon, 6 times in a row.
As we go into the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Matthew and Luke really are the ones who write specifically about the events surrounding Jesus' birth.
So it is a challenge, but he rises to the occasion, as does everyone involved with those services. It is the sweetest. It's hard to put into words, but the kindness, the joy, seeing families come with their little ones and their older ones and the ones that have been far away but are home. Like for us, our oldest daughter was home for Christmas, and that was such a joy to be able to do Christmas services together. So I'm out here outside. It is our spring winter, which means that we have spring-like temperatures. It's a little overcast, but it's still stunningly beautiful, and yet it is January. So we'll just go with it. And next week it'll be really cold again, and we can pull out all of our big heavy coats and sweaters and whatnot. I did not get to a lot of filming at Christmas, but I will say that after all those services and the minute that we wrapped that up, and then we had our family Christmas and family Christmas even after that, we have mostly just rested.
What is it? Oh my, a giant candy cane. Oh my goodness. Reggie. Oh my goodness. Oh, Reggie. Oh, she's so excited. Is it hot? Oh. Is it a wiener dog? Oh. She loves it.
Bobbin got a ball.
You get a ball?
I have one other thing that I wanted to share before I let you go, and that is that every year the Lord gives me a word. And when I say He gives me a word, I genuinely mean that. I know there are people who choose a word for the year, and I'm like, tell me all about that because I would like to be able to choose my words. um, and that's, I mean that sincerely, that I know friends of mine that it's because it's what's going on in their life or something they want to learn or work towards. In my case, the Lord has not granted me the option to choose the word for myself. And here's what I mean by that. It is that since about 1995, yes, 1995. Sorry, I have to go back in my brain and go, what year was it? Since 1995, the Lord has given me a word. And in those years, as I was going through the journey of infertility, one of those years, the word that He gave me was joy from the scripture, your grief will turn to joy. And sure enough, in 2000 and 2001, my grief of longing to be a mom turned into joy. But He given me that word long before I was able to hold Ellie in my arms. And so it's been like that. That's what I mean, that He gives me a word. And I just thought I would share that process. It's not prescriptive, it is just descriptive of what He does with me. I know that there are other people that have this same experience. I know there are other people who don't. They're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I just, either they don't do a word or they just choose a word, as I said. For me, the process looks like this. I will be reading a scripture that is, usually I'm not searching out something again because that feels like cheating. Like, that's not how it works with the Lord and I for this. But I'm reading my daily reading wherever I am, whatever book of the Bible I'm reading. And most recently, over, gosh, it was probably October, November, I've been reading Joshua and love Joshua. Read it many times, and that's not a flex. That's just to say that this wasn't a brand new thing to read, so it's not like I went, oh, I've never seen that before. But in there, during that reading, just one random day, the word where the Lord said to Joshua, I want you to take the troops and advance. Go take the hill. Go take this, territory. Go take this land because it's what I've promised you. And this is how it typically works, is that word advance kind of rose to the surface, and it's the best way I can describe it, give me grace, it's like the Lord just highlights a word. And then suddenly I see it and I hear it and I feel it in a way I've never, like that word advance it's never been one of my words over the past 30 years for sure. I wouldn't have stopped because it's such a military term. It's not really my kind of thing. And I love the things where it says, that we are the Lord's poem. That's my kind of thing that I go, oh, that's beautiful. But I felt it. I felt that I was supposed to be paying attention to that word. And that's usually how it works, is that He's going, pay attention. Pay attention to what I'm saying, what I'm doing, and don't ignore it. And so I just wrote down the word. What does that mean, to advance? Why the word advance? And I circled it. But He doesn't just give it once and then I somehow figure out that's my word. What ends up happening for me, again, for me, is that He will then, over the course of due time, sometimes a few weeks, sometimes a few months, sometimes I don't get my word until March of the new year, but He will confirm that word 3 times. And I don't know if that is significant. I mean, I know, like the Trinity is three and all of that. But I'm not, again, not saying prescriptively, hey, if he gives you a word, he's going to confirm it 3 times. I'm just telling you what happens with me every year for 30 years, is that I get a second and then a third confirmation. And that can be because it shows up in more scriptures that he brings to the surface and it feels the same way and it confirms it, or something else comes about, the concept of that word. One example is that the year that I turned 50, the word that I felt sure he was giving me was release. And we go to a friend's birthday party who was turning 50, and he was saying, you know, like it was common knowledge. I didn't know it, but he said, and as we know, the 50th year in the Jewish calendar is the Jubilee, which means release. And I just remember going, okay, Lord, that's yet another confirmation that you are indeed giving me the word release for this year, for my 50th year. And what I love about having a word for the year that he gives me is it's so intentional, and I filter what I go through. What I think I'm hearing a frog. I am hearing a frog. Can you hear that? Oh, I'm such a nerd. I love it. Okay, he's not doing it now. I love that. I'm not an outdoorsy girl in terms of trekking up hills. I wish I could, but I do love being outside and the things in nature that just make my heart happy. Okay. I'm talking about, because all of a sudden I'll have visions of his Cinderella and her dress being made by all the animals and the mice and the birds, and that was my favorite scene in the whole movie because the animals are singing and joining in. So that probably tells you something about who I am. Okay, I'm looking at a lizard. Do lizards make that sound? I don't think I've ever heard a lizard make that sound. But he's sitting out on a rock like it's July. Anyway, what was I saying? There was a point I was making about release and the Lord and the goodness and, oh, yes. So when I have a word and I can filter everything that happens that year through that word, meaning this, that is it something that year, like, is it something I need to release? Or thank you, Lord, for releasing me from that. So that's how I go about discovering my word. Very little of that is on me except for staying in his word to receive a word and then trusting and being willing to believe that this is meant for me specifically. This year, after I've received my 3 confirmations about my word, which is advance, which means move forward, take ground, don't let the enemies bully you into retreating. Like, that's what's all wrapped up currently, how many ever days into this new year. That's what's wrapped up in it for me, is that an advance can mean, like right now, make sure that you're grounded, make sure that you're soaking up everything, like the trees behind you, while things can be more quiet and still, and you don't have to flurry. It's not a race to advance. It is just keep moving forward one step at a time. Like, what about Bob? You know, baby steps if I have to, and many times I have to. After I received my 3 confirmations for my word this year, advance, I was sharing it with my therapist, and she said, "Do you mind to share what your word is?" And I was like, "No, I'm great with it, because now I know for sure this is what my word is for this year." And we talked about it a little bit and what that could mean for me and that sort of thing. And then the next week, she messaged me, "You're not going to believe this, that her pastor had been praying for months and months about what the word for the church would be this year." So I kind of felt great about that, like, hey, I'm not the only one who prays and receives a word. And she said she walked into church, and on their seats was this bulletin like thing, And this is what she saw. And she said, she sent me the tears emoji. She was like, isn't that incredible? She said, all I could think was, that's Denise's word. And I told her, I was like, I am freaked out in the best possible way of, one, I'm not the only one who gets their word that way. And two, what's that mean? What does that mean that I get the word advance and a pastor nowhere near here has that word for the whole church? So, okay, Lord, like it is clearly a word that is heavy on his heart this year. That is how I am interpreting this. I also did do a little bit of like, hey, wait a minute, that's my word. How special. He just laughs at me. But so I am looking forward to see what advance means. I am not going to rush the advancement. I am not going to assume that I know. All these words over the past 30 years have, I guess the best way to describe it is a shadow side, or at least a flip side of the coin. So that if I get a word like, what was one of the words? Valiant. So valiant was a word that the Lord gave me this particular year. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm valiant. Yeah. And it's all, part of it was from Lucy from Narnia, that, she's queen now and she's called Lucy the Valiant. And it's a very, again, warlike term. I have been through this enough times with the Lord to go, oh, wait a minute. It's always means something more than just what's on the surface. And if he's giving me the word valiant, it means that there's something I'm going to have to be courageous for, to fight for. And that was the word he gave me in January of 2020. I sat back in March and April of realizing, wow, just remember going, my word this year is valiant. So I got a choice to make. Am I going to be valiant or am I going to be afraid? And I'm going to believe my Father that he has given me that word, that name for this year for a reason. The year that my father had his heart attack and came to live with us, he had given me the word serve. And naturally, when your father comes and has an open chest wound that is bandaged up, and I don't know if you all know this about home health care, if you have yet not had to care for your aging parents, just a word to the wise, when they have home health care, it doesn't mean that they come every day like they do in the hospital and do all the things and do all the care and do all the nursing. And when you go home and they go home with you, home health care comes once or twice a week, which is wonderful, and it gives you a reprieve for those moments. And I had 2 small children at the time, and that would be great. They would do all his, things that he needed for that day. The rest of the 7 days a week, it's on the caregiver. And I was glad to do it. My dad was such an incredibly sweet, wonderful man that I would have done anything for him, and ended up sort of did. But there was one moment I remember when we were getting ready to go home from the hospital, and they're, getting all of his bandages. And again, he's had open heart surgery. His wound did not heal properly, so he had a wound vac. And they're showing me, okay, Denise, this is what it looks like when you take the packing out of the hole in his chest, where I can see his beating heart. I was like, I'm sorry. I was an English major, okay? Like, what are you talking about? But when they handed me the kit and the bandages and the ointments and the things, and I'm taking him home, and it felt like taking home a newborn. I'd never had that experience. With all of this responsibility, that I thought, I am not prepared for this. I am not trained for this. Who thought this was a good idea? And I could see my word, but I asked you to serve. The word I gave you is serve. Will you serve me? Like, whatever you do, do it unto the Lord. Serve. Gosh, I feel like I cry every time I do these things. And people have asked me, Was caring for your dad or even caring for your mom the hardest thing you've ever done? No. No. It was one of the most unexpected things I've ever done. But I wouldn't give anything for the way I was able to serve, the way that I was gifted to serve, the way that the blessing of serving served me, I believe served my children, served my family. And so I guess that's why when people, I have had I have had pushback when I say things like, the Lord has given me a word, versus I've chosen a word. Because again, I would not have chosen serve as a word. And yet, that shows why I shouldn't be the one to choose my word. Because I would have had no idea the depth of grace and blessing and joy that came to me the year that He gave me that word. In the same way, I have no idea what to expect from the word advance. We'll see. We're going to find out, right? This is what journeying, this is what walking by faith and not by sight looks like. So, I pray that if you are a person who has never done that, who's never sought out a word or chosen a word, it's not a fad. It's not a TikTok thing or an Instagram thing. Like I said, this has been happening to me for 30 years, which sounds ancient to say out loud, but it is. And I don't know how He'll approach it with you. I don't know if you will get to choose a word. I have always wanted to be able to choose the word abundance. I still haven't gotten that word. Thank you very much. I'm like, I have abundance, but I'd like to have that word because it feels like that just would feel a whole lot better. I don't know. I may be wrong. But I want to encourage the pursuit of it, the practice of it. I wouldn't call it a discipline because the discipline comes before that. It's the discipline of reading His Word, being in His Word, communicating with Him, not as just a like, hey, celestial Santa Claus, here's what I want, but it's listening. You know, it hones that skill of, oh, He actually talks back to us. There are things He wants to say to me, not just me going on and on about why He hasn't done what I need and why don't I have what I want and why is everything so hard. And it's the moments where He then goes, I have a word for you. This is going to change everything. Even if it's just changing how I perceive a situation, which changes everything. So I'm going to pray for anyone who's watching that He will give you a word. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I am going to go pray a little more about my word advance and do some fashion videos, I think, maybe, if I got it in me. Anyway, love y'all. Talk to you soon. Bye. Can you give us an update on the Christmas miracle?
You know, the green is gone.
Woo!
But it is an all-the-time, continual job to keep this thing clean.
Uh-huh.
Admittedly, I don't change this thing out enough. I didn't realize that it was jam-packed. And I am covered in dog hair and dust from my shop.
And you can see your breath. That's how cold it is out here. But the pool is utter perfection.
The pool.
Are you going to take a polar plunge?
No, I am not going to do the polar plunge. I shall not.
But you could,
You know
theoretically,
what? In
because
theory,
the pool is
I
blue.
could plunge, much like a toilet. So that's what it would be.
On that note.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you for the update.
Yeah.
This is Rezi. If you haven't met already, this is Rezi. She is my chief of security, as we've shared before. Wow. And well, this wasn't a video about you. Yeah, not about you.
I know.
She doesn't like that.
I know. You're so sweet.
So, if I may I continue?
No.
Well, I'm gonna continue. Rude. I'm gonna try to continue anyway.
Oh my word, that was very loud in my ear.